You cannot afford those mistakes on this big of a stage for these teams. As Jake, it's now time to get our night started here. And our first map of the day is going to be Brax's Holdout.
I didn't once look at the lobby to see who was on what side.
I did, and I'm trying to remember who it was.
Can you just like message shot or something? Hopefully this is correct. But anyways, guys, this is a best of 3 series. And that's crazy. You know, your tournament life is on the line, a best of 3 to decide everything from here on out. We might see some weird things, but at the same time, you got to look at who you can target for those bans. How is Operative going to approach LZ Gamer's Hero Pool? We're going to Brax's Holdout. That's already mixing things up a little bit, not standard. But I'd say this is a map where having the global and the macro play is probably a little bit favorable stylistically for Donkeys R Us.
Almost want to go there. As we see the Kel'Thuzad hover, we tend to have the 1-4 splits in a lot of occasions. It allows Kel'Thuzad more opportunities. It's not necessarily easy, but you have more opportunities to get those early blight stacks and just take that off the board. No Tassadar ban, which we saw not as much Tassadar as I had anticipated last night. The Dahaka priority was low, and this is the hero that I really wondered about. If we would see the Lieutenant Morales as an early pick. You know, back in the day, it was Morales was there, and she could really survive. Now, with no mana, only an energy bar, we see the Morales, but the Genji ban that was hovered is now first pick on the side of Donkeys. And there's the Muradin, which, Jake, I was looking at stats today, you know, before I had a nice run out in this beautiful sunny California
weather. Came in, worked on some stuff, went to lunch, came back, looked at some more stuff. Muradin's win rate in the pro scene, less than 30% between NA and EU. It's surprising how terrible this hero has been, and it just feels like it's out of practice. You know, he's kind of fallen off out of the meta, and I'm surprised that we see it. He can hold points really well because of his health pool, because of his trait, having that heal up. And if you go third wind at level 1, you know, there's a lot of things that you can obtain by picking a Muradin, but this is not something I expected. Now we've got the Gul'dan Dahaka.
Gul'dan and Dahaka, given Operative a good global opportunity. I like the medic. We've seen them do very well with it. It'll do nicely with Gul'dan. This is going to leave Uther, potentially, if he doesn't get made out here, to be deadly with that Divine Dragon Blade, something that's going to be considered for sure when Operative get to their ban. What are you thinking here for the side of Donkeys R Us ban?
I mean, if they're banning, they've got to look at something that could have that potential CC or something to get the Genji away. And right now, I actually wouldn't mind a Stukov. You get the AoE heals, which Morales lacks. You've got that double support there. Gul'dan has enough survivability. You can use that lurking arm in a lot of key situations. It looks like we're hovering the Garrosh ban, which is another great tool on this battleground in particular. So I think there's a lot of really good resources. Now, the thing with Donkeys R Us is if they do get the Uther, obviously that makes the flailing arm, if the Genji comes in, something a bit more difficult. So we'll see. But the Garrosh ban, I like that. I think on this battleground, it's probably one of his better battlegrounds due to the duration that you have around the objective, and that more opportunities for Garrosh, but take them away altogether by taking him off the table. And we've got Operative here, and you really got to wonder what they're going to be considering for bans. Malthael seems like a natural pick for me, because if you're really committing to that 1-4 split, you don't want Dahaka to be losing that lane. And the one hero that he loses to the easiest in this stage, outside of a ranged hero like Zagara, if you're looking at other melees that will be there, Malthael seems like an obvious ban.
Well, they're giving it a lot of thought here. Again, this series means so much when it boils down to it. It's best of 3 series, 2 wins to fix it all. And, all right, Malthael does
I love
end up
that
getting
ban.
banned.
Love it. And again, if that means you're committed to the 1-4 split, Genji can still rotate up there. The problem is that you got to have somebody in this rotation, or at least on your side for Donkeys R Us, that has wave clear. You've already picked up your warrior in Muradin, who doesn't have good wave clear. Rhaegar would kind of be that next option if you want to go that route. That would kind of be your best bet to kind of make up for that, or unless you go into a hero like a Kel'Thas, like a Jaina, something there to where if you go and rotate that Genji up, you're not going to suffer in the 4-man. So we'll see what Donkeys wants to do here.
They've got the options for sure. We've seen Donkeys playing some weirder stuff over the last few weeks. We mentioned the Ragnaros, we mentioned LZ on the Stukov, and I think this is going to be a more standard game for them. When you look at the solo lane with Malthil out, hopefully it's not Ragnaros. What do you want to see there? They haven't picked it yet. Malfurion over Uther.
The thing is that Donkeys is one of those teams that doesn't mind doing a 3-2 split. But with Genji, you generally don't want to do that because you want to be able to flex Genji between the lanes to take advantage of his mobility and his gank potential. So I don't know if they'll do that. They've got the Lunara Malfurion. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Malfurion, especially with this composition, go into the Moonfire build that we've seen, the 1-4-7 potentially, to try and control that front line. But if I'm here and I'm playing more of the control style, you don't have Garrosh, you're going up against this composition, you've got the roots locked in there. ETC seems okay, but if you're looking for the control point to make sure and deal with some of these heroes, I'm not terribly opposed to Johanna in this situation, but if you want to have that protection like a Varian, the single target taunt onto Genji, that might be something to consider as well. I don't like Varian as much, but with a Morales back there, if you want to go there and then potentially another support here, it looks a bit more favorable and you can be a little bit more counter pick style with your warrior.
I actually like the idea of Varian a lot when you consider just the taunt plus the dragon, no cleanse on the opposite side. It can be deadly, but ETC has been left open and they will end up going for ETC, but also Zagara. So Global's up the wazoo for Operative, having the potential with the Nidus Network, the stage dive if they want to go for that. Even then though, stage dive probably not going to happen. Not a whole lot of CC available. Mosh Pit could be lethal for sure.
I'm not 100% sold on this draft unless you're going to go into the 3-2 split. You've got Zagara and Gul'dan, both really good at wave clear. Oh, by the way, they've got Dahaka as well, really good at wave clear. So you have a lot of battleground control, but we're talking about 2 lanes.
Yeah.
Now, going up against the Lunara, her wave clear, especially compared to any of those heroes, is far less impactful. So they need a solo laner here. They're going to have to try and be aggressive early, but one way potentially to deal with the Genji is to have that 3-2 split.
And Arthas will end up being the last pick. Double warrior with the Malfurion, lots of lockdown. If they can get those rotations and find the kills and heroes like Zagara and Gul'dan, there's very little retreat available. I mean, I like the team fight a lot when it comes to Donkeys R Us, but objectively, like you mentioned, when it comes to their clear, it is severely lacking. Moonfire being one of their best forms of clear. Arthas does have the Frozen Tempest to walk in there. It works well if you've got the big Zerg wave. Well enough, but is it optimal?
Not in my opinion. Not in my opinion, but Operative opts to go double solo laners in the same composition. The Zagara pick really just, it's thrown me for a loop here. So we'll see how this plays out as I look at the lineup here. LZ will be on the Arthas, as you said, will help control. The one thing that he also does pretty well is if he's in the lane with Zagara, he clears the creep extremely well. And so that does make things far more favorable in that lane to deal with it. So I just want to see how these teams come out. Do we get a 4-1 split, a 3-2 split? Who's going to be the first to say, all right, you're going the 3-2, we're losing out hard? Because as it stands, Jake, Operative should have a pretty strong wave clear advantage early game. I wouldn't be surprised if they just say, look, we can split this into 2 lanes. We don't dominate 1 lane, we dominate 2.
One thing that we've seen a fair bit out of Operative, though, is their willingness and almost greed when it comes to invading mercenary camps. And at times, it's worked out really well for them, but at other times, that greed has been disastrous. So we'll have to see how safe they play and how well their macro and rotations are in this series. It's a best of 3. Donkeys R Us in the blue, and Operative Esports in the red. Deadly Ice can be in that Dahaka this game.
Instantly, right away, we talked about potentially the Moonfire. Instead, we'll see the scouting drone making sure to protect the flank. I'm not sure exactly what flank they're going to be afraid of outside of the Dahaka coming in, but I hear when he uses Brush Stalker, he's pretty loud. I saw him eat Caldor at one point in a video. But Infest on the side of Zagara, the more damage that you do, siege damage-wise, your ranged minions that you're near will do more damage. So we'll see how that plays out as the game progresses.
Some friendly banter in the in-game chat. These guys knew each other so well. You know, you think about Phase 2, you think about the Hero Type Amateur Series, every single event that's happened, they played each other countless times. And, you know, as lighthearted as the chat might seem, the tension is definitely there. This is a big match for both teams, do or die time. Looks like a good bit of pressure with Jin in the body blocks. Looks like the last few auto attacks are going to be sufficient for that kill onto Zagara. And they'll get away with it on top of it. So nicely done there, using their superior mobility of those two warriors.
And this is the part that's going to scare me a little bit, is that Malfurion not going into the Moonfire build. You see that the threat alone forces Lunara back. They'll be able to eat up the mana, or excuse me, the ammo pretty successfully, I think, most of the time. But take a look at Murden's positioning right now. He's just looking for flank potential.
Yeah, roaming around, scouting, seeing if he can find anyone out of position. LZ is doing his best to keep the creep spread at a minimal right now. Good pressure onto Dahaka, trying to force him to use some essence.
It's going to be up to Trap Queen to try and keep that creep there, but as you can see, getting cleared up pretty easily. But this is what I'm talking about. Almost depleted as that bottom one, and Legend's like, you know what? I've got a Morales with all this energy. I'm going to eat every single remaining shot there, so nicely done.
Yeah, abuse the fact that you don't have mana whenever you can for both of those characters. Looks like Empu under heavy siege. The Moonfire with the poison from Lunara being triggered. Gonna be enough to finish off that medic, and that's a big kill. That's gonna give them control in the bottom. They can look for that rotation out to the top. Might see some beacon progress very early.
Very rarely do you have to run to the healer to make sure the healer can heal themselves. Morales is one of those healers.
Good point.
She could have healed somebody. She heals herself with her new tree. You know that I could heal somebody.
You know, I was listening to a retro playlist today, and that song came on.
Retro, man.
Isn't that like 80s?
Feels old.
That's really old. All right.
You know what, Jake? That last dive there, solo Morales, cellular reactor picked up at level 4, where she consumes the energy to heal for 40% of your health, your max health, over 4 seconds. So really interesting pickup choice at level 4.
To help deal with some of that poison. You know, that poison damage is what this comp is all about. Yes, Genji is going to be able to put on a little bit more pressure, but he's not full burn till that Shingami at level 13. Definitely gets a little bit more of that shotgun damage, essentially being close range. But good pressure and response here from Operative in the bottom lane. They've whittled down the ammunition down to nothing. Towers have taken some decent damage.
Well, the beacon phase has been a little bit back and forth. The roaming potential of the Murden and Genji, as you can see, they approach the edge of the creep there, and they're like, do we go? I don't know, we'll be seeing. Instead, they're going to turn their attention towards the bottom, which means that now, actually, they didn't end up finishing channeling that.
Oh, man, yeah, that would have been beacon progress, but now Empu is going to end up going down once again. Shot is not actually going to be the focus. They go straight down to Legend, finding kill. Shot should have the power slide to be able to get back to safety. But now we have 16% beacon progress, so that's a small victory. And they are getting pushed in the top lane, so it doesn't look as bad as it could be, considering they did just lose 2 heroes.
And now you've got to ask yourself, would it be more of an advantage for you to switch to the 4-1 if you're on the side of Operative?
Yeah, honestly, I think so. And they're managing to hold on. Like, it's 16-16. It's very even overall. They experience just a very slight edge right now on the side of Donkeys R Us. But, you know, when you have dominant solo laners like Zagara, like Dahaka, put that pressure on bottom.
Zagara taking advantage of Murden's resilience to just stand there. Serrated Spines on her level 4. Every time she does auto attacks, she increases her basic auto attack damage by 0.3, currently sitting at 31 stacks.
I love that option. I think that's just really smart to make that reactionary talent decision if you think you're going to get a lot of free auto attacks in. And it really ramps up. You gotta respect every single auto attack throughout the game that you're just conceding as Arthas or as Murden, because that Zagara is getting fed essentially.
Well, both teams, again, dead even here, but we've got ourselves a fight, and Legend is in a little bit of a forward spot, trying to put the pressure onto Malfurion.
Oh, Elohim with a juke, though the Fell Flame missed. That would have actually been enough for the kill, as the regrowth had only just then been applied. Shot doing his best to get control, force, and beacon progress, but has he overstayed his welcome? The barrier is there for the shield, and the heals are going to be enough as Mfu, plenty of energy in the tank.
Double Warrior, sometimes you tend to try and be a bit aggressive. Again, one of the things that you can do to Morales, the minute her channel stops, there's a brief moment. And so we're seeing Skullcracker again picked up. We saw this last night. We're seeing it again to get onto the Morales, to try and get that interrupt, making sure that her healing beam goes off. It's not like a heal that you put out every 5 seconds like Malfurion. It's something that you're constantly channeling. And if you can interrupt that channel, no more heals. So Skullcracker on that backside will be something to watch when the team fights really start to break out.
That's a good point, actually. It definitely could be impactful. Trying to get a little bit of extra DPS in here with that double tank. Jin goes in, gets the Storm Bolt onto Legend to try to get some pressure as Genji goes forward with the jump, utilizing the trait. Not enough for the lockdown, and every time they make one of these rotations where they're looking to put that pressure on, find that kill, they end up getting pushed in further and further in the top half. Trap Queen has nearly taken out the well. There it goes. The creep spread is becoming more and more problematic. LZ Gamer hasn't been able to safely move out towards it.
And that's a big win when you can get that well down. The sustain in that lane obviously becomes less. Speaking of less, Legend's health bar is a lot less as he gets deleted, and Genji doing work there. Imfu trying to keep Shot alive one more time, and the rotations, when they work, Jake, they look really good, but you got to think that how long can you sustain this? And right now with level 10, we should see the beacon phase definitely go over. Instead of the beacons, they've got their eyes on the boss.
I mean, the 10 advantage is definitely a thing. It's sizable. It's going to be something that they feel confident to approach with, but Slice Blade needs to be very careful. The drag could be a problem. They're actually not going for the pressure in. Miscommunication for Operative. They still had their eyes set on the boss. You know, sometimes you just have to concede and realize, well, at least we can kill Lunara. That's going to help us get 10. And they definitely
Wait a minute. Time out. Oh, no, we can't pause. Haymaker, playmaker. We're going to have Murden as that really aggressive Skullcracker Haymakers. He's already used it, and Shot is in a bad spot. He's taking a lot of damage, but Imfu keeping the heals up for the moment. There's the micro stuns with that, and Jin diving the back line. Here's what it's talking about. That healing beam is broken, and down goes Shot.
You know, we must have missed that Haymaker that you mentioned because it's on cooldown, and I was actually, I literally said the word why. Why was Shot on the left side of the map? Well, that's why. He did not even notice or respect the Haymaker. Zagara dies in the top half of the map. They will get the trade onto Lunara. Twilight Dream not going to be enough to finish off Legend. There are deaths happening everywhere, however, as Genji chased down and killed Dahaka with very little HP remaining. The boss is going to solo this top fort, and Beacon progress finally going to continue on here as Soy finishes this capture in the top lane.
Tell you what, when it gets to the point of a situation like this, it's all come down to here for your chance for the Crucible. If you lose, you're out. You bust out that secret strats playbook. You start to bring out things like Skullcracker, like the Haymaker, like Infest on Zagara. You just try and make things different. Medevac we're going to have. So now we've got the Zerg wave channeled on the side of Donkey's RS. We'll see exactly how much value they get out of this with a Gul'dan on the other side.
Definitely a lot of lane clear when it comes to the side of Operative Esports. So I like this forward positioning. Jin, he's already posturing, saying, hey, look, if you step out, I will Haymaker you. And if you're Legend on Gul'dan, you just kind of die. That presence that Murden's providing just for the push in general is making it so dangerous to even think about throwing out those Fel Flames. And they're able to just get it all the way up, very healthy still. You know, most Deserve Way standing strong up to the keep wall, confirming this wall. Honestly, if Murden wasn't the tank on their team, I don't know if he could have pressured that effectively.
He's eating a lot of damage. He's starting to
Murden,
fall back.
though.
Yeah, Syndragosa, there's the Horrify. Not enough to keep Gul'dan alive. There's a kill. And now with this lockdown and Gul'dan not there, Zagara still remains, but now you got to wonder if this keep's going to go down as well.
Yeah, that Syndragosa will expire in just a second here, but they dive onto Shot. The Haymaker pushing him into the Nether Realm, and Sliceblade is on the chase. Looks like he's going to get the poison and the Q and the damage over time.
Morales?
Not enough. Oh, again.
Morales? Impu had energy.
I don't think he expected Soy to go in, and
that felt rough. There's the keep down. Syndragosa playmaker. I mean, it's new meta tonight here on Open Division.
Hey,
day number 2.
What did we say at the start of the cast? Donkeys R Us did not play their game last night. They've always done a little bit off things, and this feels like a Donkeys R Us draft, does it not?
It definitely is different, and this is what we expect out of this team. And they're making it work. Again, the Zagara last pick by our Operative, if we look back at this and you're down 2, almost 3 levels, the last pick Zagara for this 3-2 split and a solo Morales, I'd say it's pretty telling right now how it's working for Operative. And the Zagara pick, Jake, to me, it's looking worse and worse as this game goes on. Not because Zagara is bad or the player is on it bad.
Right, no, it's just the number of times in which we had Dahaka, Zagara versus just Arthas in the top lane. You'd expect there to have been a little bit more pressure. This top lane had its wall down and the well down, and their 36 whatever percent Zerg wave did near nothing to this top. So maybe with level 10 it'll be different. I don't know. Nidus Network does give you some good some good flexibility, and the Medivac as well, but so far to be determined.
This is one of the things that I wish more teams would do. Is we actually saw them on the camp, and it was one of those things where you think, all right, is it better to grab the camp right away, or is it better to just kind of hold it, wait for the objective to spawn? Right now, Gul'dan throwing out the Fel Flames, trying to at least thwart back the Murden, who's discovered the Nidus, which will go down. He's just jumping all over everything. He's like, what if I just Dwarf Toss right in place? I know there's a creep here.
You know, one of my favorite things they can do in Murden is actually evading a skill shot by those point-blank Dwarf Tosses. Can't really do it anymore, but I used to love watching that, man.
Well, nothing crazy. Here's the thing that I think I struggle with the comp from Operative. How do you win a team fight against this composition, right? The Zagara pick, you've only got 69 stacks so far on the serrated spines. And so that's not really going to be a big boon in terms of your damage. Gul'dan doesn't really amp up till 16. So can you hold on, being down 2, almost 3 levels?
I mean, can you hold on? They've already haven't held on, Jay. How that's the problem. They're so far behind. If you ask me this question when they were 13-13, I'd say, yeah, I think they're in a decent position, but their early game is just not worked out. And when you're this far behind, when you need that rampant Hellfire, the powered up auto attacks of Zagara, you don't achieve that easily when you're this far behind.
This is where Jin and Murden, he's got the healing static, therefore he just hits that W, heals up right there. Healed up, he used the Playmaker. Look at this, they're winning this fight with Lunara alone. Solo support. Shot is taking so much damage, he's not sure where to go. He's trying to hold on. It's not going to be enough. He's going to go down, and Jin the entire time is zoning out that backline Skullcracker, and he is not done yet as Heavy Impact brings down the boom and the stun, and the beast step hits him on the way out.
Dude, Murden the Bruiser is a beast. He just goes in, he doesn't die, and you do die. That's going to be another nicely executed Stormbolt, just making sure to get the kill with that Twilight Dream. Probably not necessary, but does it matter? It's level 16 with a 100-0 Zerg wave, a keep already down in the bottom. This is looking like another keep likely to fall.
The keep's likely to fall. The one thing that you have on your side is Gul'dan. Gul'dan has some of the single best wave clear in the game when it comes to the Zerg waves, if not the best wave clear. He has to stay safe, and so far he's not been able to do so because of Jin. And hey, guess what? Syndragosa says the dragon flies out, and now all of a sudden this is locked down. The keep's going down. Jake, can they finish?
I mean, the Zerg wave is still as healthy as a newborn child that was born with the nicest full head of hair you've ever seen. That's a healthy baby. And this Zerg wave is going to do damage. The shield's not necessarily going to last too long for them. Shot anxiously trying to eliminate the Lunara DPS, but that mosh pit on the single target, not going to be enough. The Dragon Blade does finish off the kill, and now they're working through those shields. Trap Queen has 0 mobility, does go down. Jin is just having a party in the back. You can't kill me. I'm Muradin. Well played.
What looked like an odd draft was played phenomenally well by Donkey Zornos. The rotation in lanes of a Muradin and Genji. That's not something that you traditionally see, but
dude,
that Zagara pick, man. I'm not saying it's a bad hero for the map. I'm not saying they played it bad. I'm just saying that as a last pick in that composition, you don't go double support against the Lunara, and you have the Morales, which you first picked, by the way, and you don't have that extra heal. I think that it struggled. 16 kills to 2 at the end of that.
They never looked like they were ever controlling the lanes. We've got dominant laners like Zagara and Dahaka. You've got great mobility that ended up being negligible because you mentioned the Genji and the Muradin just roaming around, constantly continuing to bring the pressure to this lane or that. That also kept the Zagara Dahaka on top honest throughout the game because, well, if we push out, I'm Zagara. Sure, I have creep everywhere. I'm still just going to get body blocked and storm bolted because both of them can dash by me, jump over me, whatever, and ruin my day. And they didn't have the answer. So Operative Esports are 1 game away from being eliminated in the Open Division playoffs, and they'll have to wait till 2018 if that happens. So they've got to dig deep. They've got to find whatever magic it is to bring this around. And what is it? What do they need to change? What made them look like a top contender that they're not doing right now?
Drafting.
No.
And I said this many weeks, is that when they were under the Flame is Lane banner in Operative Esports, they were probably one of the best drafting teams. I saw just beautiful drafts from them in certain games, and then when it came to execution, it would be lacking. I would see really good backup options, really good things that they could do, and then now it kind of feels like they're not necessarily drafting the same way. Even when you don't execute well, sometimes your draft, because it's better, will give you different fallback options, give you win potential and stuff like that. And I think that these drafts that we've seen from them the last 2 nights are nowhere near what we're used to.
They got to change something because it's do or die time. But, ooh, man, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle. I mean, that wasn't a close game. First pick Genji. I think that is the first time we've had a first pick Genji throughout this weekend.
I've lost control of my mouse over here.
Oh, that's good. Are you using that monitor? Are you watching it all?
Yeah, that's what I cast off of.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can wiggle this USB.
Wait, did you unplug me?
I didn't unplug anything, but I did plug myself. I plugged my phone in to charge it. Here, try it now. I don't know. Should we go to a commercial break?
No, we're
Do
good.
we gotta fix
cast over here.
All right. All right. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in to Open Division. Be sure to hit that follow button as we're getting ready for game number 2. See if we got a lobby up. Looks like we do, in fact, have a lobby. I don't know if there's any. Oh, there you go.
There it is.
You were just alt-tabbed weirdly. Probably because of my mouse, my thing being plugged in. Yeah. That's what you get.
So our pool was Brax's Towers. What did I say the third map was? Sky Temple, which is where we're going next.
Yeah. Sky Temple. All right, gonna give him the go ahead.
I'm ready for this. I want to see if we see the old school Illidan combo, kind of play that global game, maybe the stage dive, etc. that we've known, to be a little bit more prominent in the current meta. So Operative was 1 pick away from making that draft look brilliant. They had Dahaka as the solo lane with no real threat outside of a Genji gank.
Malphil ban.
And if they have a 4-man rotation, it keeps that Muradin honest in that case. He can't exactly dip off and go gank there. And by going that 3-2 split, you basically enabled the comp that's directly opposed to you. So I think that pick, I want to see that same style of draft, just a bit more reserved, a bit more meta. I think that would help quite a bit.
I'm curious what the state of globals will be here for Sky Temple, because we've seen a lot more Brightwing lately. We've seen some early Brightwing drafts. Medic has been played a lot, many times, and like, I don't know. I'm actually really interested to see the way they're going to approach this. We do need to point out that this is not the bugged patch with Falstad. He is legal. He did see 1 or 2 games of play last night, but we'll see.
Well, we saw first bans very different last game. I imagine that it will probably be quite a bit different. And, you know, in that draft, and I talked about Morales, you had the Gul'dan, so it didn't make Tassadar as appealing, but he gives you that AoE damage. He gives you the shields as needed. We haven't seen a lot of Tassadar. It seems like a lot of people are off the Tassadar train for whatever reason these last few days. And it seems like Tassadar could fit into a lot of these compositions, but people are trying to bring their own flair to these series that we've had and take the global off the board. You said you want to see the state of the global. I'll answer that question real quick.
It's smart. I mean, Dahaka is another good option for LZ. He's a global. He's a solo winner. He controls that space well. And you know, what we were talking about earlier is oftentimes we see the draft be somewhat geared towards how can we make LZ less impactful overall, and by getting heroes like Malthael away, Illidan away, or making those heroes not as viable is a good way to do it. Dahaka does end up being that ban. I don't know. Okay, they're just going to look at ETC. So I'm curious how hard they're going to prioritize Shot's hero. He likes to play a lot of Anubarak.
Yeah, you know, we finally got our first pick Tassadar. Now, it leaves open a couple things for me. One being Brightwing. If you want to go into the double support, Brightwing could be there. She can kind of play solo support now with the recent changes. And if you're trying to prioritize the global, Falstad might be there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see one or the other here. But knowing that it's Donkeys R Us, they could just fall back. With Tassadar not being there, it makes Illidan a little less likely. But the way that they've played, they've never really heavily favored the Tassadar pick, or been shy from picking that without the Tassadar.
How much do they respect the Tassadar pick, though? They take the Vala.
They hit the Brightwing.
And they take the Brightwing.
I like the Brightwing pickup.
I think she's incredible on this map. The changes that she's received, we saw so many plays last night that never would have been safe or correct or viable without the upgrade to her face shield. And it's so nice to have talents that actually rival cleanse in their power. Because in the past, Brightwing, you know, maybe you would blink heal in and cleanse the target to get them away. But now actually phase shifting in, receiving the face shield for yourself and on your ally, and then emerald winding them apart can be such a meaningful play. If you can get there in time, it's akin to an ancestral with global reach, right? And you're disrupting the fight in a really cool way. So loving her changes for sure. Navala is a great denial because Vala is also really good. Do you think they'd be willing to try to run an Illidan?
Maybe. I think Brightwing traditionally, right before you said Illidan, I thought Tracer, and Brightwing's traditionally been one of the better counters towards those dive style, but they're not afraid to it. They go into the Tracer, and they also have an Uberek, which gives them the opportunity to dive in to put that cocoon onto the Brightwing, because it wasn't just the changes. The new Brightwing changes are really great, but when they first started to slowly and gradually rework her a few months ago, they gave spell armor on the Pixie Dust, and the Pulse Bomb counts as spell damage.
It does.
And so it's not on a long cooldown, so you have to be very specific on your timing with the Pulse Bomb. You can't just casually go in and throw it out, because you get that Pixie Dust and that person, all of a sudden their health bar looks a lot safer, and Tracer has to go back to just auto-attacking until she gets another one. And Tracer really has her value when she gets the burst damage onto that. Then the other scary part is that you don't have to necessarily go into that Varian style or ETC style, things like that, because all you have to do is polymorph her, get the follow-up CC. We might see the Rain of Vengeance come out, the blow-up one good Q from Vala. Those are things that make the Tracer pick extremely terrifying. I could just go into this with the whole Tassadar, the pre-shield, so that Tracer heals up.
No, it's...
But you wear that off, you get the polymorph,
Yeah.
that shield's no longer there. Burst style Vala, dead Tracer.
So it ends up being a medic ban. And then an Ariel ban. So it won't... We've seen Brightwing Rhaegar, we've seen Brightwing Solo Support, we've seen Brightwing Lucio. You name it. This does feel like it could be a double support game for sure. On the side of Donkeys R Us, it's actually kind of interesting because the Vala was definitely a good pick, but now they're probably saying, man, wish we could pick Li Ming because, again, Disintegrate versus Cocoon works really well with Dominance, and, you know, she with the E build, she can do well against Tracer, and honestly, it's a good map for Li Ming. I don't think we'd see Li Ming Vala. That's... the double range is pretty much fabled at this point. They will go Uther, providing...
Spell armor, whatever.
Yeah.
I got it all here now. As Vala, I'm dreaming of skirmishes. Like, I'm going in, and there's nothing good. The single best counter towards Tracer is an auto attack hero. Because a couple of auto attacks against Tracer, you're like, man, that hurts, right? Like, it's not a fun thing. So the Vala pickup is going to be very aggressive, and they still go into the variant for the taunt.
So you got Polytaunt and Hammer of Justice, potentially Divine Storm, Emerald Wind, like tough Tracer game.
You've got to go Rhaegar here, right? Who else has cleanse?
I think it's a must.
You've got to be able to cleanse that target.
Yeah.
Lily ain't cutting it.
No.
Or is she?
Is it only Rhaegar that's left that's viable for this? Filling
It
swipes
has to
and
be.
Stukov isn't sufficient.
Oh, definitely not. Malfurion not gonna do it.
Didn't have cleanse.
I don't see a world where you don't go Rhaegar here.
I agree. He's good for the camps. He's a great hero. Probably the best support in the game right now, in my opinion. Rhaegar makes sense, but they need some kind of oomph burst damage. You just think maybe Li Ming, maybe a little bit weirder. Do they try to do Kel'Thuzad? We've seen them try to play Kel'Thuzad. Not the best map for him.
Protected, by the way.
armor, spell armor, protected.
Yeah.
Kel'Thuzad looks rough. They go Rhaegar, Malthael.
Okay.
But Malthael falls into the same category as Tracer.
He
Is
does.
that the best work that you do as that hero is in the enemy team.
You know, we've actually seen, again, I'm going to harp on Brightwing, like Malthael goes in, Polymorph, Emerald Wind, he does nothing. Malthael goes in, Sound Barrier. Malthael doesn't do a whole lot. So finding that right moment, he's definitely going to be good in the lane for sure. But there's so much that relies on Malthael opening up a situation for Tracer to find an isolated target and then blow up.
I wonder if this might be a Sonya. You can keep Brightwing as the solo as needed.
We don't have an LZ hero, so...
And the minute you get that poly out or that taunt out, Poison Spirit 7 just deletes Tracer, can really target a lot of this. You talked about the speed that you need, the auto attacks to clear the cocoon. I don't think with this composition it's as necessary. I was thinking maybe a Falstad if you kind of want to really go global, but they just go into Genji, which Genji is another good counter towards Tracer. Tracer auto attacks really fast. As Genji, you just hit deflect and deal with that. And then Genji is also, like, if you dive as a Nubarak or Malthael and things like that, and Genji goes to your backline, you see this a lot of times in the Pro Division. Rhaegar just gets shredded. It oftentimes leaves him to a Panic Ancestral because he's like, well, I'm about to die. I better have some value in this team fight. So if we see that happen, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens more than once.
That's actually a good point. Wow. I'm actually really enjoying this draft here from the side of Donkeys R Us. But there's a lot of comfort picks and a good potential. Legend on the Tracer will be a big part of this. Deadly Ice been playing a lot more of the melee as of recent. Phase 1, he was all ranged. A lot of mages. We'd see him on the Li Ming. We'd see him on the Vala frequently. They've really been shifting up their roles in the current meta. And we're about to see if it's enough to deal with Donkeys R Us. This is the best of 3. One game and Donkeys advance to day 3 if they win. But if Operative Esports fall here, they are done.
Right now, Vala has to be considering, do I go Q build? Do I really need to since we have the variant taunt? Or do I go auto attack build? Something that a Nubarak struggles with. Low health pool, but has spell armor. Built-in spell armor, plus he could be going Nerubian armor. And if you look, there's a couple of heroes who haven't picked their talent. One being a Nubarak,
one being Vala. So Vala, are you targeting the Tracer with the auto attacks or with the Q build? Are you targeting a Nubrak with the auto attacks? There's a little bit of mind games going on with the talent picks here. Nerubian Armor was picked up, so if Hungry and Arrow build does go that route, a Nubrak a lot stronger, but Vala definitely considering quite a bit here.
And opts to not go at Hopper Suit picked up at level 1. Looks like we're going to continue to see the phase shift style from Brightwing, just, 1, 4, and 7, building into the phase shift with that phase shield. Peekaboo, nice to have, I suppose.
I've actually really been like theory crafting about. We've seen a lot of teams, they push top, they push mid, as Jin eating quite a bit of damage. But I've really been thinking about it, about where your value lies. Mid lane, obviously not the most beneficial, but just pushing in that mid lane first, and then getting mid temple, trying to really stretch that early XP lead.
Well, we haven't seen too much of that. Shot is actually going to go down here. Good swap of focus to be able to burn him down as the rest of the team retreated down. Shot into being too far forward. Legend has built up plenty of meter for that pulse bomb. Almost has enough to try to find that focus, but yeah, the fact that they got that kill earlier, Ellahan was thinking for the hearth. I like that. You got to top that mana bar off because a lot of mana was used in the skirmish. Well, will be used in turn.
Here's one where LZ Gamer, being on the support, again, feels a little bit weird, but it's Brightwing. So
yeah, I'm a lot happier seeing him on Brightwing than Stukov, personally.
It's a little bit more forgiving.
Because he likes, he's a former StarCraft 2 pro gamer from Evil Geniuses. A lot of people forget that, or might not even know that. And he likes to look at the minimap. He likes to min-max, that kind of macro play a lot. And he always leans towards globals, it feels.
And if you're looking at that for Operative, it's best to just trade here, because if you try and pick that fight, LZ Gamer can phase shift in, turn a fight easily in your favor, and if she goes first or you go first, then Brightwing just gets that global value, so there's a lot to consider there.
All right, Pulse Bomb, protected by the way.
Feels bad, man.
It does.
That's a terrible feeling.
70 HP, Pulse Bomb does 0 damage. Oh, man. But the power of Varian. He's good against Tracer for multiple reasons. 1, anti-burst. 2, locks her down. Shot does get that max range burrow over through the air and through the woods.
Well, you talked about the taunt and everything with Tracer. How you like Holy Shock in this to try and get some of that burst damage onto that taunted Tracer potentially?
Simple support. Do it. We're seeing more and more of that. The supports or the double bruiser picking up a little bit more DPS style. Muradin worked out beautifully for them in that last game, building a little bit more damage on the tank, and sometimes that makes a difference.
Legend, the value just hasn't been there yet on the Tracer. We'll see as these fights eventually will pick up. Mfu using that Lightning Bond at level 1 to put the pressure onto the Night Camp, as the Siege Giants dealt with here in the bot by Donkey's RS.
Yeah, just the collection of mercenary camps as both teams passively wait for a level 7, not wanting to step out and do anything silly. 7 is around the corner. Trap Queen actually going to just heal up the health bar before they prepare for the next bottom shrine, which is a pivotal part of this match for sure. Brightwing versus Shot in the top. I think leave Shot up there. We gotta collect this XP.
You reach that critical point where you've got the global in the top lane, and Brightwing can clear that up. And if you don't go and sending Rhaegar to the top, where it looked like he was heading up there originally, Shot's now making the rotation up as we see Legend. I'm not real sure.
That
what
was
just
questionable. He had recall, did he not? That was just like classic Hero League Reed. He saw the opportunity to get the Pulse Bomb and kill Soyu Sirian. Pulse Bomb would have killed because Deflector's on cooldown.
Right,
but
what was that?
I just think he thought he had enough space for one more auto and was planning on, hitting R and then hitting E to throw the Pulse Bomb out and kill. But those miscalculations are costly.
Now Brightwing with that kill on Malthael can stay in the top lane, soak level 10, and Operative Esports, between their last few plays, giving up that kill, giving up the Malthael kill, this is where, if your Donkeys are us, this is your chance to just take control of the game and just hold on to it. You get the level 10, you get the full channel bottom, you're doing well pushing the top, you don't lose any soak, and this is a very, very important spot.
We didn't really talk about the kind of rivalry that exists here with the team formerly being 4 guys and a Legend. Legend played with LZ Gamer for a extremely long time, and you know there's kind of that potential grudge that exists below that. He opted to leave the team, and ever since then, Donkeys R Us has been on the up and up almost. And you know, maybe it's just a clashing of mentality when it comes to approaching the game, but right now, Legend does get away with that recall.
Yeah, but to see Operative contesting this without 10, Divine Shield's still going to be there, Dragon Blade's going to be there, Emerald Wind, you just come right in. Although it was interrupted, it didn't matter because they still got it. Yeah. Now
there's a Dragon Blade. Oh, shot's very low, but he's, you know, just playing reserve, not going to risk it. Oh, was it canceled? I thought I heard the channel of Dragon Blade. Maybe it's just a deflect.
By going for that, Jake, you give up the XP that you needed.
Yeah. You don't have the global.
Yeah. They just instantly rotate mid, take mid forward. They're in complete control. It's now a 2-level lead. This is exactly what I was afraid was going to happen.
I mean, this is, like you said, snowball territory, where they were able to basically get the max value of everything. They didn't get the kill. They didn't lose anyone to fighting the boss, but they lost time. They still don't have 10.
They don't have 10. They end up losing mid-fort. They lose an entire wall top, which means that every temple from here on out, it gains value. Everything from here on out will gain value. Taking the well will gain value if it's one of the top temples next. You take that down, and now all of a sudden the sustain in team fights is even because your temple was down. But
that was a very good predictive burrow charge from Shot, but they couldn't quite get the true lockdown there. Oh, that was almost really nice.
Almost doesn't count except for in horseshoes and darts.
I don't know if I've ever...
Just let it be, Jake. Just let it be, as we've got a level lead on the side of Donkeys R Us, and all they have to do right now is avoid team fights, but it looks like they might have one on their hands, but Deadly Eyes, Tormented Souls, a little late there, buddy.
Little bit late. Cleanse value from Uther. Life Fight is fairly low. Pulse Bomb's not going to be enough to deal with Jhin. This time there was no protected available with his shield. But we do have the shrines spawning, and Brightwing has been sitting here in this bottom lane. A-OK this whole time, getting additional experience for the team, now sitting on a free shrine. Burrow Charge connecting on Varian. Does he have a Nether protected? He does. Phase Shift will be used, and that's a clean approach on the Shot. However, Ancestral Heal gonna be enough to top him off. Cleanse on the Tracer. Just afraid of that taunt. Good hold there from Jhin, not casting it.
I don't blame him. We've got 13 advantage. You've got the global. We'll see if they try and make any move. By sitting here, getting the early channel, you might be able to contest both of them at this point. They got a fight that they didn't take for Operative. They didn't win that fight, and now LZ Gamer will stay here. You'll send 4 people down, but Legend still sneaking around for the moment.
13 advantage. Brightwing is considering the options.
She might be considering it for she's going to live there.
Maybe. Okay, D-shift. Long cooldown. The Shot have the burrow. Does not for 2 more seconds. And Tracer. Guess she didn't have the recall. She goes down once again.
And now, trying to take that fight twice. And the second time, by the way, they were trying to get the gank onto Brightwing. Couldn't secure that. Now you give up the rest of that temple, and you give up the temple at the bottom.
And they're just kind of making sloppy yet desperate calls because they need to make something happen. You're down a talent here, but at the same time, you can't just give up 2 shrines. I feel like maybe Shah could have made his way down to the bottom shrine and got some of that progress at least, because the structures, you know, get down 2/4 or even 1 or 2 towers in the bottom lane, and it at least catches you up in XP a little bit. But now that the gap is only increased.
The gap is increased significantly. You have all 3 forts standing on the side of Donkeys, and not a lot left standing on the side of Operative.
Shot waiting in the bushes. Deadly Ice. is not going to end up approaching. The team is backing up while Shot is delaying. It seems like like half the team wants to fight, half the team wants to play passive. But honestly, there's not going to be a better window. 16 makes things worse.
Tracer just has been around the vision point for a while here.
Oh boy. Recalling doesn't help her in this situation. Going to need some support. Deadly Ice does have the peel.
This is a very tough spot to be in because next Temple phase, it'll be 16 versus 13.
Yeah. Talent
tier wise, anyways. And there's really not much else you can do other than try and get a pick. And if it's a single Temple phase and you're Operative, you can't give it up anymore.
No.
You're likely to lose a keep.
I mean, yeah, if it's a bottom Temple, goodbye keep.
I mean, even mid keep wall is down. I mean, there's so much structure damage already.
Jin just says, yo, I'm Varian. Let's brawl. My team's going to get some mercenary. Your whole team's here. I don't care. I'm Varian. I died once. I can't die again. Right Wings get soaked on bottom. They're continuing to out-soak, out-experience. And, you know, it's not like Donkeys R Us are putting themselves in a risky moment. Unless Brightwing truly gets caught with, like, big CC. But that's not really... I mean, you just have a noob. 2 CCs. Tracer can burst. Well, sure. But that's their only kill target right now.
Got Banner of Stormwind picked up, by the way. I normally see the Iron Forged, but the way this is going out, you know, you get a little bit of mix of damage. So opting for movement speed in case you need to disengage. So you've got the Pixie Dust for the extra movement speed. You've got that. And we do have this single phase here. And a boss play is a desperate attempt. If I'm on the side of Donkeys R Us, I will take a full temple and let them take boss. You will get more value out of that temple than you will out of this boss.
And maybe they can get a kill on Brightwing. This watchtower is definitely problematic. Genji was just topped over and grabbed the mercenary camp that was queued up. And LZ considered moving forward, but losing that vision. Chooses not to.
Genji's at the top, which it's kind of a weird spot because Mouthail's not quite rotating down yet. Shot's going to find it. Brightwing has the global. Genji will make his way down quickly.
Genji's he's on his way. But they stopped DPSing the boss for a reason.
Here it goes. Genji on his way. Will we finally get that Divine Shield? Dragon Blade as Legend is taking so much damage. The boss is going to be there. Tormented Souls is going to be out. Now all of a sudden, the Genji Dragon Blade is out and health bars are falling. Rhaegar is down. Anubarak is down. D-Shield is out and so is Mouthail. You know what? Let's make it 4. Better yet, let's make it 5 as that's going to be a boss and a push towards the bottom.
That's should be game. These Death Claimers aren't that long, but it does not matter. 16 advantage, Divine Dragon Blade, 3-level lead, so many things ready, and decisive victory for Donkeys R Us. They look like a different team than yesterday. They've got their groove together, and they survive to day 3 of the playoffs.
Very strong performance by Donkeys R Us. Operative Esports, 0 kills that game, 2-game total. 2 total kill count on the side of Donkeys.
2 total kill count.
26.
26. I love these kill counts.
26 to 2 is
his
pretty
brain
dominant.
Is just so impressive.
I mean, it's pretty easy to add 16 and 10, but you know, either way. I mean, looking at the damage numbers on the side of Operative, and it was just is missing. We were missing a lot of damage. Almost 24K for Tracer. Next highest was 15,000 for Mouthail. They had a hard time finding their engagements. Had a hard time initiating there. The Task Tracer comp is nice, but it was hard countered. And we had a last pick, Mouthail, and I wasn't sure where it worked the same way that the Zagara pick worked. I mean, you kind of needed a solo laner, but I feel that relying on 2 heroes that solely rely on diving the backline between a Mouthail, between a Tracer, that's where all your damage comes from. And they require being in the backline against an Uther, Brightwing, and Varian with a Genji that's just going to flank your support, and Rhaegar, who has no real self-sustain. It's going to be a bad day at the office, and I think somebody's probably ready to go home.
I was glad to see them attempt the Tassadar Tracer, but they got drafted against it. And it's just one of those things, like where Task first pick looks great, but you got to be able to be flexible after that. And
Brightwing was picked before the Tracer, which that's not exactly the scariest counter, but it's
the variant and the Uther, it all adds up for sure. Even the deflect. There's just so many things that say, you know what, you're actually going to do 0 damage with your pulse bomb. Grats.
Especially when you're protected.
Yeah.
By the way.
That is our first series. A quick sweep for Donkeys R Us. Again, moving on through the lower bracket. That does mean that Operative Esports have been eliminated. This is nearly up to date. As you can see, that the loser semis will be Donkeys R Us. We're about to find out their next opponent. It's either Team Numerics or Trademark, also playing in a best of 3, fighting for their lives. After that, it's Heroes Hearth versus Imported Support in a best of 5 series. Winning team of that goes to the grand finals and the Crucible. So it's all coming down to this, Jay. How?
I'm pretty hyped for our nightcap, but I'm actually really hyped for our next series just because Team Numerics has been a team that, again, we've talked about them last night, a little bit earlier, but we've had a lot of opportunities the last few cups to talk about them because, again, taking a game off Heroes Hearth, very few teams can say that they've done that, but then they've climbed their way up the rankings, and they found themselves in a tough battle last night with Heroes Hearth. And you're playing not just for first anymore, because you can play for second place to get to the Crucible.
It's true, and that's really what matters. Look at the names. Caesar Salad, Flyest Raven, Fazda. A lot of names that most of you have never heard, and yet they've got diverse drafts. They've taken a game off Heroes Hearth. They really don't buckle when they're behind.
It's not like it was an accident either.
Yeah, and it looks like when you put them in a corner, they just fight harder. Whereas other teams, they're like, oh, we're so far behind, right? And you can tell that in their play. It's a very distinct, powerful attribute the team has for sure. So that's coming up next, guys. Trademark Gaming versus Team Numeric. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.